flexible working, AI, climate and modern slavery, and mental health, and burnout. Burnout's hit the news 3 times this week, talking about burnout. Wales has got the highest level of burnout. So I want you to think about, what are you doing to support your staff? And more than ever, we are going to have to rely on our managers to deliver training. So make sure they are trained themselves, make sure they know how to lead, make sure they know how to manage, and make sure they know how to spot the signs of somebody that is struggling. So always do that return to work interview, even if it's for one day. Why were you off? Did you visit a doctor? Be supportive to help people. So, okay, flexible working policies and management, AI, a need for new policies and recruitment. We've had universities complaining that students are using AI to write their dissertations, and what about work? Are people using AI to do the work that you've asked them to do? And as I said to you, it is human fed, it will make errors. And then climate and modern slavery, and then mental health. And when I think about climate and modern slavery, that people, I want to talk for so long on this. I have an hour, that's it, and to give you, like polls, etc. I just want to talk about climate and modern slavery for an hour, and illegal working and working permits, and the fact that the government actually are reporting that the Daily Mail, if you can believe the Daily Mail anyway, if you read the Daily Mail, you're probably stressed as hell. No, I love the Daily Mail, by the way, but it's like doom and gloom every day. So reports visas for high-skilled workers in AI and life sciences. So just also do your due diligence when you're taking somebody on. Check they've got the right to work in the UK. Check that you've done that due diligence. We can help you as well at the CIPD HR Inform with that. Climate, your staff now want to see you doing your bit. Gone are the days of pumping loads of rubbish into the water systems. People want to know what you're doing for climate. They want to know that they're working with an ethical company. So that's the bit on my trends. Let's look at the key changes now in 2025. I know that's what you're listening for, so let's have a look at that. So this is all about holidays. We all know about holidays. We know that we've got lots of things coming in. Let me get my so let's have a look at the trends that are coming in for 2025. And by the way, I've got a few people asking about the recording and the slides. You're going to get this, okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, so we've got the 1st of January, the rolled up holiday pay. Now, that was for the people that holiday years start now, January to December, that might not have thought about this last year. It's now time to think about that. On the 20th of January, got that 25% uplift to protective awards for failure to follow the dismissal and re-engagement code of practice, which we've got in. Okay, that comes in, that's in on the 20th of January. So there's a 25% uplift. If you're a smaller company, that's a hell of a lot of money. We're going to go through to these changes in a little bit more detail, so don't worry. On the 1st of April, we got the national minimum and living wage increases, and actually Sainsbury's are cutting 3,000 jobs, citing wage cuts and the increase of money that is costing them. So national minimum wage and living wage increases. And I do think when you're trying to do something like that, you need help. So whenever you're looking at ways of saving money, you're looking at ways of incentivizing, you're looking at appraisals, use the platform to help you. We've got loads of solutions there, and we'll help you, and you're holding your hand in doing everything that you need to do within the business. So national minimum wage and living wage increases. On the 6th of April, we've got the statutory payments increase, including family-related pay. I keep talking about the global birth rates dropping, and the fact that some companies are really focusing on family-related stuff like pay, etc. I think that we're going to see more and more of this over the next 5 years in investing in this family. I don't know who, I know there's nurseries out there, and I hold my hands up. That's a brilliant, you're doing a brilliant job. But I think, as an older working mother now, I've got, my children are grown up, but having 4 children, having 6 grandchildren, I can see how stretched families are, that pay for childcare. It's ever such a lot of money. And if we're trying to get people to have more children, then maybe we need to look at things like that. 6th of April, statutory neonatal care leave and pay for babies born or on or after this date. Fantastic piece of legislation that is coming in on the 6th of April. We're going to talk about that in more detail. And I'm sorry if I trigger anything with anybody, and I'm sorry if it upsets you if I talk about the death of a child or a child that needs care. My intentions are meant to be good. On the 1st of May, they are good, they're not meant to be. 1st of May, deadline to increase to the latest real minimum wage rate for accredited employers. So that's on the 1st of May. So that's the timelines we're looking at. So let's break these down in a little bit more detail. And the first one that I want to talk about with you actually is the rolled up holiday pay. Literally, this went on for a long time, didn't it? So this comes from the Brazil Harper Trust case, okay? You remember, I'm going to give it you in a nutshell, okay? Really in a nutshell. And I want to just also say, anybody asking about wages and stuff like that, please bear with me. I've got loads to go through. I might answer the questions all the way through this presentation, but let's have a look at the rolled up holiday pay, okay? The Brazil Harper Trust case, we know that that was a teacher challenging the way that they were getting the holiday pay. And if you looked at the working time regulation, which actually is a brilliant legislation, that they were saying that you're not paying me the right way. It went on for ages and ages. It ended up in the UK Supreme Court, which is the end court, the Donovan courts. Once they make a decision, that's it. But I knew when they made the decision, they'd throw it back to Parliament and Parliament would change it. And they could change it because we Brexited and we could have that control to say this isn't right. Now, this came into play last year for annual leave years starting on or after the 1st of April 2024. And this meant employers with a January to December leave year can only now introduce this. So we covered this in our last webinar. And if you haven't had that recording, you haven't seen it, and you want to have that recording, register with us and we'll send you that recording. We've got a whole catalogue of old recordings. Now, this was brought in when the law was changed to overturn the UK Supreme Court's decision in the Harper Trust versus Brazil case that annual leave cannot be prorated for permanent part-year workers. So remember, workers getting rolled up holiday pay still need to take leave, and you need to keep track of this to comply with the working time regulations. So what we know from this, the rolled up holiday pay, is you can now be implemented for January to December leave years. It's only for irregular hour workers and part-year workers. Holiday pay paid at the same time as wages at a minimum of 12.07%. And I know there are HR consultancies out there that have spoken to me and said throughout all of this malarkey, they were still saying that pay the 12.07%, and they were putting their money where their mouth was, and it's worked out, hasn't it? So, and the pay slip, by the way, reminder of this, will need to clearly set out the element of pay attributed to rolled up holiday pay. So that's the bit on rolled up holiday. Now, you heard me talk about fire and rehire. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, and just check your holiday request procedures, remind people about that. About the holiday, I've gone back a slide, sorry about that. Rolled up holiday pay. Okay, so fire and rehire. Just have a look at your holiday policies, your holiday procedures, how people request it, and have a look at that. And remind people to book their holidays in advance. And it's a first come, first served basis, okay? So that's the first thing, to remind you about that. Fire and rehire and protective awards. So, okay. From the 20th of January, there's a protective award for employees, can be uplifted by up to 25% if employers also fail to comply with statutory code of practice on dismissal and re-engagement. Remember, collective consultation is triggered where it's proposed to change terms and conditions of 20 or more employees. Now, there are a lot of organisations out there, okay, there's a lot of people out there that and businesses out there that have issued contracts, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and their businesses have changed. And I think any normal person would absolutely consult with their staff. A happy workforce is a productive workforce. And also, I don't want anybody going to work being miserable. I don't want them to go into work to be miserable. I want them to feel like they're engaged and part of my company, because we're going to get far if that's the case. And when things need changing, they're more likely to agree to it. But what we've got here is, if you get it wrong and you don't follow that code of practice, there's going to be that 25%. So protective award of up to 90 days per employee where employer hasn't complied with this requirement. If you are thinking about fire and rehiring, and for those people starting out HR, there's loads of people here so experienced that I could do a webinar with them. There are people that are just stepping out and taking this on as a career. And, you know, for those people out there, this is where you are trying to negotiate a change in a contract, and you know it's not working. You've gone through every stage of it. You've gone through the code, but you're actually eventually going to have to end that contract and issue new contracts. There are dangers around that. So if you're thinking about doing it, give us a call. Labour are looking at ending that altogether. So I just want you to just to remind yourself of that, okay? And that's what it's all about. Contracts, I've always believed, can be changed in the right way, but you have to consult. So let's have a look at this magnificent legislation that's coming in, and let's talk about it. This neonatal leave and pay. Let's have a look at this. This is something that we're seeing, as I said, quite a few family-friendly rights coming through, and quite rightly so, you know, that neonatal care and leave. So this is a new right that we're seeing, up to 12 weeks of leave for eligible parents of a baby receiving neonatal care. So it's statutory neonatal care leave. It's going to be a day one right for employees who have a responsibility for a newborn baby receiving neonatal care. And one of the charities that I absolutely love is the Ronald McDonald House. I love it because, and you see it at like Alder Hey Hospital actually. And if ever you go into, we all go to McDonald's. I think lots of people do go to, we all go to McDonald's. You know, I don't a lot, but my children used to like it when they were younger. There's a little basket when you go through the drive-through. You can throw your loose change in there and it goes to this charity. And it actually enables people that have got a child that's in hospital to use their support services, which is like almost like a Premier Lodge facilities to stay in while their child is in hospital. I think it's an amazing charity, because one thing that people struggle with is things out of the ordinary, like paying for, you know, a hotel or a petrol or parking on a daily basis if people are in hospital. So I thought I'd mention that and give, you know, a salute to that particular charity. But this new leave and care that's coming in, so if you do have anybody experiencing that, remind them of that. But statutory neonatal care leave will be a day one right for employees who have responsibility for a newborn that's receiving neonatal care. Now, employees will be entitled to take 1 week's leave for each consecutive 7-day period the child is receiving care. And it's up to a maximum of 12 weeks. And unfortunately, some babies are very poorly when they're born. Some are premature, you know, some need extra care. So let me repeat this to you. Employees will be entitled to take 1 week's leave for each consecutive 7-day period that child is receiving care. And that is up to a maximum of 12 weeks. Now, neonatal care can be used, this is the next question I get, in addition to any other forms of statutory family leave. Now, it can be taken after other statutory leave where that leave cannot be stopped or moved. Now, employees may also be entitled to a maximum 12 weeks of statutory neonatal care pay, subject to eligibility criteria. So that's separate. The payment is separate here. So employees may be also entitled to a maximum of 12 weeks of statutory neonatal care pay, subject to eligibility criteria. Now, the terms and conditions of employment, excluding pay, continue during neonatal care leave, and employees are afforded additional protections. Now, the leave must be taken before the end of a period of 68 weeks, beginning with the child's date of birth or date of placement in cases of adoption. Now, we've answered a few questions on there that we are constantly getting asked about this neonatal care. One, does it affect people that are adopted? Two, you know, so we've put those into the answers for you. Parliament still needs to approve the regulations, which were released last Tuesday, so 20th of January. But I think it should be absolutely streamlined through. So it's a new right. It's for babies born on or after the 6th of April 2025, subject to this parliamentary approval of the regulations. It's a day one right, and pay will be available for eligible employees. Okay, so that's what we know.